I learned personality styles years and years ago, like in my 20s, which was so good for me because I'd never heard anything about the differences in personalities up to that point. And this really is a tool to help you to understand yourself, to understand all of your relationships, who you live with, who you play with, who you are in love with, who you're raising in your home. So it just gives you a tool for better understanding. And once you can acknowledge, accept, and appreciate people for who they are, it creates a trust to be able to communicate with them. And then you feel, it deepens the relationship you have.
Welcome to the Daniele Hage Podcast. I'm your co-host, Daniele Hage. I'm the daughter-in-law of Daniele. She's Nini to my three girls, and she is pastor, speaker, and founder of Dynamic Traits. She has 40 years experience in marriage and family relationships, and she's been married to Steve for 42 years, who travels the world preaching the gospel, and together they pastor a church in Laguna Niguel, California. All right, so I'm so excited because I get to share a personal story today of when I first met you, and I was in California where you live. I had come to visit and stay, even though I had never met you before.
Which was so bold. I thought, this is so bold of her. She's asking to stay in our home. I knew who you were, that you were a friend of Christian's. Were you guys dating at the time?
We
weren't sure yet.
It's mishmash.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not sure. It's a little gray. That's a story for another time. Yeah. So we're going to talk about personalities today because this is what this story has to do with. But once you understand what my personality is, I still am blown away that like this story even happened or this was a part of our past. So I was coming out to California to speak at a conference. Christian was supposed to be there, so I was going to stay at the Hage home and go do my thing, my business in California. Well, Christian had gotten a job on a movie set or something across the country, so he had flown out. And
while you were flying in.
And I still needed to go to California. I wasn't going just to visit him. I was coming for business. So he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. You can still stay at my house and my mom has a guest room for you." I'm like, okay, I guess desperate, young, I don't know, in love, wasn't sure yet. So she picks me up, takes me to lunch and, questions me about mine and Christian's relationship and how our friendship has blossomed and all of that. And then we get back to the house and she shows me to my room and I come out to the kitchen after I set my bags down and it's 4:00 in the afternoon and she's making dinner for her husband, and which I thought, that's interesting. Like, he's hungry. She's making it. I don't know. That's not something I knew. But she's multitasking too. So she's making his dinner, his chili or whatever, and she slides a piece of paper across the island and she goes, "I'm going to need you to fill this out. And then we'll meet up for happy hour in about an hour or so outside on the patio." And just kept cooking away. And she's like, "And Courtney will be over too." That's my sister-in-law. "Courtney will be over too. And we'll have happy hour together in about an hour or so." And I picked up that piece of paper and I walked away to the guest room and I called Christian. I was like, "What the heck? Like, what did I just get myself into? What is this?" I looked down. It's a personality assessment. It says the colors. And it's a personality profile.
Yeah, right.
So that is my introduction to personality profiles.
And Mrs. Hage.
And my future mother-in-law.
It's so funny how you interpret that because I don't remember. I do remember giving it to you, but the way you took it as like, oh my God, it's like a questionnaire to stay in her home or something.
Oh my gosh.
And let me just explain to you what I do. Okay, so I learned personality styles years and years ago, like in my 20s, which was so good for me because I'd never heard anything about the differences in personalities up to that point. And this really is a tool to help you to understand yourself, to understand all of your relationships, who you live with, who you play with, who you are in love with, who you're raising in your home. So it just gives you a tool for better understanding. And once you can acknowledge, accept, and appreciate people for who they are, it creates a trust to be able to communicate with them. And then you feel, it deepens the relationship you have. Yeah. And we could talk about personality styles forever because there's so much to it. And let's face it, human behavior is very complicated, but this hopefully will kind of simplify it. I know there's many different personality surveys out there. Mine is the best Because it's the most simple. And that's what people tell me. Compared, and there's all good ones. Myers-Briggs, DISC, Enneagram, all this stuff, but they're a little bit more complicated than mine. So mine's just kind of a broad brush stroke to kind of give you a pretty good idea of who you are and how you function and how you're motivated and so on. So I became a Christian at 18 years old. I married my husband and was caught up in his adventure called the ministry world. And I was brand new to ministry. I didn't know anything. And I felt very insecure, very intimidated because I was around people and a lot of other pastors' wives and even young people who knew so much more about the Bible than I did. And I was raised Catholic, but I just didn't know a whole lot. And so now I'm married to Steve Hage, and he is going to be the youth pastor in the church. And I just, there's a scripture that says if you just keep your mouth shut and stay quiet, you are assumed to be smart. Something like that, or wise. Yeah. And I remember I kind of went inward because I just was intimidated around this whole new world of people that I wasn't familiar with. And so there was a woman that came into our church at a women's meeting at one point, and she started teaching on personality styles. And I was so taken back. It set me free. It's what it did. I thought, I can still be used by God. I can be married to Steve. I can be a Christian. I can be in the ministry world. God can use me just for who I am. I don't have to be like her or them or that. I can be me. And so when I learned this, I grabbed onto it, and I grabbed onto this woman. I wanted to follow her around everywhere she went. I said, you need to teach me everything you know, because I'm going to teach this, because it just was liberating for me. So I couldn't quit talking about it. I talked about it to everybody. Anybody that would listen, I would say, okay, let me tell you what kind of personality you have. And there is a survey that you take. And on that note, let me just say this. I also have an app in the App Store. It's called In Living Color. If you push in Living Color or Dynamic Traits, it'll come up, and it's free, and you can fill out the survey, and there's a description of your personality type. It'll give you your results on that app.
And then you'll have it in your phone. We'll put a link for it in the description below so you can easily take that.
So first of all, you need to know that there's lots of variables that contribute to personality type. I call them the 3 E's: your environment, your education, and your economics. Depending on where you were raised, how you were raised, the kind of parents you were raised with, all of that plays in to your personality style. But I really believe that you were given your personality while you were in the womb. There's a scripture in Jeremiah that says, I knew you before you were even born, when you were in the womb. And I believe that God had a purpose for us, and He's given us a personality and given us all the stuff that we need to live our purpose here on earth. So the other thing that you need to know is there's introverts and there's extroverts. So today we're going to talk about 2 of the personality types. So we're going to talk about one of the extroverts, which is called the yellow personality. And there's another color personality profile out there. It's not mine. There is a book on it. I have not written a book. But this one, our colors are different. So just to clear up that confusion, we use different colors, but same kind of thing. So the yellows, and I do it in 4 colors: yellow, blue, red, and green, because the colors remind us, like yellow. What does yellow make you think of? Sunny, happy, bright, happy. Exactly. What does blue make you think of?
Cloudy.
Clouds, sky. It can be like that melancholy, kind of, easygoing. But then there's the navy blue that is more like a militant blue, right? And then like red.
Serious.
What do you think about?
Go.
Go.
Like, all I see is red. All I want to do is go, go, go.
Right, right. Red and hot and fiery and fireworks, right? And then green makes you think of peaceful. Exactly. And everybody has like a primary personality, and then they have their secondary or their backup. But there's one that is the core of you. And it could be, you might be 50-50 of 2 parts, or you might be, 75% yellow and 25% green, so everybody's got both. And all of us have a little bit of all 4 styles in us. Okay. But there's one that is just who we are. We're our most comfortable self when we are moving in that personality style. And then there's the backup. So here are the combinations. And, this might be too much information, but if you're a yellow, you won't be yellow and blue, because blue is the exact opposite of your yellow.
Right.
If you are a red, you won't be red and your secondary be green, because reds and greens are completely opposite.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So if you're a yellow, your backup, your secondary will be green or it will be red.
Okay.
So let's just start with the yellows right there. And
why are we starting with yellows, Danielle?
I'll tell you
because
why.
You're yellow, or why?
I like to start with the yellows. Usually when I'm doing this in a conference type or with a group of people, because yellows have the shortest attention span. So I get them right up front to grab their attention.
Let's talk about you.
Yes. And yellows are the exhorters. They're the encouragers. They're the hope givers. They are influencers. If you get a yellow excited about something, they are going to talk about it to everybody if they're excited about it. They're the hospitality people. They're the evangelists. If you get a yellow turned on for God, they're going to tell everybody about God.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the core need for each personality, what motivates them, their body language, the language they talk in, the questions that they ask, okay? So a yellow's core need, number one, is recognition and fun.
Yeah.
If you want to get the most out of a yellow, make it fun.
Yeah.
If you're raising yellow children, and you can even, once you learn the personalities, you'll be able to see it in your
Absolutely.
kids. You
like
guys,
you said, you're designed in the womb
from the
with
beginning.
These,
and you have told me with your children, my granddaughters, you knew exactly what they were like 3 months after they're born. God. You could tell
as soon as they were born.
Style. Yeah.
Maddie, my oldest, who is all yellow.
She's my mini-me.
She didn't even cry when she was born. She came out, she's like,
smiley.
Let's do this.
Yes.
It's going to be so much fun.
So yellows are interrelationship. They're very relational. They don't know a stranger. Everybody's their best friend. They make you feel good about yourself when you're in their company. They probably give you too much information right out of the gate because they're just who they are, and they're happy and they're joyful. They are motivated by fun. Okay. That's what motivates them. They love adventure. They're always planning their next adventure.
Right.
Their body language is they talk with their hands. As you can see, I talk with my hands. Lots of bubbly, bouncy movement, yellow personalities. They are storytellers. This is the language they talk in. They're very animated. They keep you on the edge of their seat when they're telling you a story. The question that they ask is who? Who's it about? Who's going to be there? They don't care about as much about what you're going to do. It's about who you're going to do it with. Okay. So people are very important to yellows. Who's doing it?
Right.
Who's all coming? That group? Okay. I don't want to be left out. Yellows have hashtag FOMO, fear of missing out, big time. If their worst nightmare is they didn't get invited. They didn't get invited to the party.
Yeah.
The way that a yellow dresses is they like style, they like fashion. They tend to want to keep up on what's trending. They like bold, blingy, bright, lots of sparkles. Yes. Which is totally opposite of the blue personality, which they dress in solids. Rarely do you see blue personalities dress in vibrant, loud florals. Okay. They like solid, straight line, classic, tailored.
But if we walk into your closet, what are we going to see? Like
lots of color. Definitely florals, colors, checks.
All the
bling.
Yeah.
Yes. Shiny.
And even how you get ready. Like I walked into your bathroom this morning to turn on the light for Charlie, and it's like, there's makeup bags all over the place, and there's makeup
hair stuff
and everything. Like we just brought everything because we don't know what we're gonna need, so we just brought everything.
Everything from my bathroom counter to yours.
Because I'm not yellow, I love yellows, and I've taught this at our church before, and I've always said, like, if you're not yellow, find a yellow to be a friend with. Like, get the invite to the party from the yellow. Like, just come alongside them. I have a good girlfriend who's high yellow, and I was walking with her the other day, and she said she was just talking about the differences between how she and her husband get ready in the morning, and she being high yellow. She said, I don't get ready the same way 2 mornings in a row. She said the order in which I get ready in, and what room I get ready in, and what I'm doing first. She's like, it all gets done, and I get to work on time, but I don't do this, and it just was like, I can't do that. Like my morning
You have a
is
system.
This is my system, and this is how I get ready, and I do my makeup before I do my hair. And But she's like, no, well, it's
same with
change
me.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I like routine in some areas, but then I get bored with the routine.
Yeah.
If it's the same thing every day in and day out, and I have to switch it up. Again, yellows like adventure. The thing they hate most is boredom. And that is me.
Yeah.
I would walk over shingles of cut glass. I'd rather do that than be bored.
Okay, so yeah, we went to Colorado this last summer as a family, and it's like we had all the stuff packed up in the car because when we left our condos for the day, it was, what adventure are we going to get in today?
Yeah.
We could do pickleball, we could do paddleboarding, we could do
rock climbing.
Yeah, all the things.
Bowling.
And it was always the question, who's going? Who's going to be
Yes.
there? You guys want to go play? You want to,
Yes.
so keeping
Lots
on
of
the adventure,
entertainment.
all the adventure.
The Bible personality that I always think, for those of you who are believers, that I always think of when it comes to yellow is David. King David in the Bible, because remember, he wrote most of the Psalms. He was very verbal. Yellows like to talk. Yellows, they express themselves outwardly. They're very verbal. They usually have lots of words. And again, very animated. Yellows will talk until they think of something to say. They'll just keep talking and think as they go.
My husband is yellow.
Yes, where a blue personality, the opposite, they are very analytical, and they've already got all their thoughts
Calculated.
lined up, and they don't talk until they're sure about what they're going to say.
Right.
So they're a little bit more quiet than the yellows. Something that could be a little annoying about yellows is they interrupt. They are always quick to finish your sentence because you're not thinking fast enough.
Connecting the dots faster.
Ladies that are listening, just for your information, just know that when you interrupt a man, because men are so single focused, it's like knocking a train off its tracks. And if he just shuts down or clams up or withdraws, it's because you won't let him finish a thought. So a lot of ladies will ask, well, my husband just doesn't even talk to me. And I'm like, do you give him a chance?
Yeah.
Do you keep your mouth shut long enough to let him actually finish a thought?
Yeah.
So that can actually be a little bit annoying. And I know I see it in women too, that we interrupt, but we can switch gears faster than men can. So women don't mind it as much. The target for a yellow is ready, aim, talk. So life is a stage, and they are the main attraction for yellow personalities. My husband also, he is red first and then yellow, but he makes him very much a go-getter, which we'll explain reds on part 2. But he's very yellow also. He's probably 50-50. And he has a voice that projects. I mean, he's a preacher, okay? And so we'll be getting on to an airplane, and he will be talking to me loudly. Yeah, you know how airplanes, you're in really close
Everybody kind of
quarters. Yeah. And so you kind of tone it down, and he'll be like, hey, honey, did you remember to bring, and he's just, and I'm like,
yeah.
Gosh, like there's people here. But for him, he thinks everybody's interested in what he has to say. He has no problem talking loudly about anything, even personal stuff. And the green side of me, which we'll get into on the next podcast, which is the more introverted, more passive side, bucks up against his red, which is that outgoing, very loud, in charge person. Yeah. But anyway, let's keep going. Some of the modern day yellow personalities that you would see like in the media on TV would be like your Jimmy Kimmels, your like Melissa McCarthy, the Cameron Diaz's, the Robin Williams,
out there.
The funny people, the comedians, the class clowns, right?
Yeah.
So the excuse for missing the mark or sin or making mistakes that a yellow will use is, well, I'm in good company because everybody does that.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. And so yellows try to justify, but look at everybody else.
Everybody else
it's not
is
just
doing it.
me.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The most common struggle for a yellow personality, again, is fear of rejection because they want recognition. They want approval. They don't want to be left out. I said that. FOMO, fear of missing out. Yellows hate being bored. They love adventure, spontaneity, and variety. They need lots of variety. I have lots of clothes and lots of different handbags because I need variety. Yeah. So my husband, he likes quality of type of things. So if he'll want to buy me like an expensive handbag, and I'm like, I love it. It's beautiful, But if you spent that much money, I have to use it forever. And I'm going to get bored of it because I have to trade off.
5 colorful ones.
I could have 5 different colors, different styles for a lot less money. So that's just something that I like. I like variety. I get bored with the same thing over and over. I get bored if I'm at a certain occasion and things aren't moving fast enough. And all my friends know this about me. They'll say, okay, we got to keep things moving before Danielle leaves because she's getting bored.
Yeah.
So some of the strong points for a yellow is they have very strong people skills. Yeah. They make a great teammate. They like working with people and being on a team together. They make everybody feel like they're their best friend. They're fun to be around. They're happy people. A lot of people will want to be yellows. Yeah. They'll say, oh, I'm yellow when they're not, because it seems like yellows are the popular people. Yeah. And they are. Yeah. They are the popular people in school. They were the cheerleaders and, the people that were a part of all the assemblies and the pep rallies and stuff. They're the loud, fun people. So they're fun to be around. They're great networkers. That you have something that you know about and somebody has a need, you'll find somebody else that you know to connect with the person with the need. Yeah. Like you love to network and help people. Yeah. Yellows are eternal optimists. We see the glass half full, where blues are opposite, have tendency to be a little pessimistic at times. And I don't even like to call them pessimists. I like to call them critical thinkers because they will think things through, find the pitfalls, find what could go wrong before they make its decision to do something. But yellows are like, hey, it'll all work out. Let's just try it.
Oh my gosh, that is my husband.
We don't have to have all the details.
Yes.
We don't need to know what the end destination is. It out. Let's just get going and see all the possibilities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So for a yellow an eternal optimist, they think this is the best possible world. A pessimist thinks you might be right. Oh my gosh, I'm depressed. That's their biggest fear. As good as it gets. You might be right.
Oh my gosh.
So yellows are charismatic, meaning that you feel good in their presence. They have a way of making you feel special and good about yourself. Yeah. In the workplace, they work best in fast-paced, of course, exciting environments. The other day, I walked into this office, and the walls, the color on the walls were all kind of very sterile, very beige. There was no color at all, not in the drapes on the wall, and no pictures. Like, it was just very sterile. It was very quiet. And there were people in there working. And I was in there 10 minutes, and I thought, I could never work here. I would fall asleep.
You want the open concept of the ping pong table and the shared desk space.
Yes, and lights and action. And I waitressed
up on the wall.
Yes, I worked at a little clothing boutique when my very first job. I was bored to death because it wasn't fast enough. There wasn't enough people in there on a regular basis. We had our fast times and we had our very, very slow times. And I remember thinking, I want a waitress, because waitressing, it's fast money and it's fast moving and you never sit down, you're moving. I loved waitressing. Yeah. Loved the people, loved talking to the people. I made a great waitress, made great money.
Right.
And it was fast. The time would fly by and be like, oh, my shift's over. Yeah. And I like that kind of style. Yeah.
So yellows during lockdown.
Very different.
Needed to get back in the office.
But see, like during the lockdown, the pandemic, and because my husband also has yellow in him, it was almost like, because I like to go, it was almost like, now I have an excuse not to have to go. Right. So I didn't mind it. I was like, okay, so what are we going to do during the lockdown? We're going to ride bikes because we can do that without being around people. And we're going to watch all kinds of fun movies and all the old romances.
Kept it an adventure.
I made it an adventure and made it fun. And we enjoyed it.
And even just knowing my husband, like going from working at home and having a home office by himself to working in an office with people around, like he is much better when he has people around and he has energy around him, and that collaboration. Yes. That's when he's at his best self for the work environment.
Right. Yellows are great idea generators. Yeah. Okay. They're better at coming up with the idea than actually executing the idea.
Oh, yes.
Because they love starting projects, but they're not so good at following through and finishing the project. Yeah. So they have the idea, but you probably need to get somebody else on your team to actually execute it. Yeah, they are rock stars when it comes to working on short-term projects. Again, did I mention they have short attention spans? So they're great at helping a startup company get off the ground. Yeah. But be forewarned, they will get bored once it gets going and they want to hand it off so that they can start the new idea.
Yeah, especially if it's like a long, like every day, this needs to be done in the spreadsheet. We have to keep it up every single day.
Oh.
And then this report is run the same
Yellows
way every single
spreadsheets. Yeah, that's the blue. That's the blue that likes that. Yeah, yellows are great team players, but they're not real good managers or maintainers for long term. Okay, so you're going to have to find somebody else to do that part. But again, we need all the personality parts. And for a job or a business, you need all of them. For a church, because each personality type brings great things to the table. Some of the weaknesses with yellows is, again, great starters, not so great at finishing. They can be a little disorganized. Again, there's no order for them. They don't even like a certain order.
You don't put your lipstick back in the same bag every time.
Right. And I have 14 different colors that I use, that I carry with me because I like to change it up. I get bored using the same color.
Right.
They have a hard time committing ahead to things because wait, you asked me to do that next Friday, but what if something better comes up before next Friday? So they don't really like making commitments because there might be a better invitation, right?
Yes.
And for a yellow, you can call them at the drop of a hat and say, hey, can you meet me for lunch? They could be at work and they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Lunch, friendship, fellowship, I'm there. You call a blue on the spot and say, hey, it's totally last minute. How spontaneous are you? Can you meet me for lunch? No. And a blue will be like,
it knocks down all the dominoes.
Are you kidding?
That affects this and this and this and this and this.
I'll put you on the calendar. I'll pencil you in for a week from Tuesday, and I'll give you 45 minutes. Yeah. I mean, they are scheduled. They are planners. They've got their calendar. Yeah. You don't mess with the blue schedule. Very opposite of
But again,
yellow.
when a blue wants to have fun.
And the yellow can pull the blue out. Yeah. The fun out of the blue. And a blue can have as much fun and be great, but after the fun is over, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
Where a yellow, because we're extroverts, remember, extroverts get revved up being around people. Introverts get depleted being around people for too long. So as a blue personality, the introvert, it's like they can have fun, but when they go home, they're wiped out. And if they're on a retreat for 2 or 3 days or a business trip for 2 and constantly around people, when they come home, they just need to be alone. Yeah. They need their space. They're like wiped out for 2 or 3 days.
Where that yellow's like, when's the next time we go? And
when
where's
do we
the
get to go again?
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing about yellows is they hate pain. Okay. They have a tendency to withdraw from people in pain, and something that yellows, and so a lot of times they'll get labeled, you're in denial, because we don't even like to express our own pain or acknowledge our own pain. Yeah, it's like we want to be happy.
Yeah.
And rarely do you see a depressed yellow. And if a yellow is depressed, there is a problem, because I can honestly say there have been very few times in my life where I've gotten sad. I've been down, absolutely, but I don't stay there. I will find a way to get myself out of feeling bad, because I thrive on joy. I thrive on being
fun,
happy,
the adventure, and
being fun. Yeah,
on the go.
So yellow's something that we can grow from. Those we need to learn that pain is part of life.
Yeah,
and it's going to come and go.
Yeah,
and we need to learn to grow from it, not run from it, because you don't want to be the person that can never sit with the person who's in pain.
Yeah,
and so we need to grow in that area. And I know for me, I've had to grow in that area, because sometimes people in pain and who are down just need you. They need a yellow to come around and remind them of all the things there is to be happy about and grateful for.
Yeah.
So do we want to stop there
and move on? Yellow. Good thing we started with yellows, because you used all the yellow words today.
Yes, for the whole podcast.
We're only going to talk about the yellows today and finish there. And then move on to, what was the other one we're going to talk about? Blue. Oh,
the blue, which is the opposite of the yellow. We'll move on to that next.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on the next episode. So, thank you, Yellow Daniele.
My favorite topic.
So much fun. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when that next podcast is coming out, since we're going to continue this conversation. It helps us if you leave a comment and ask any questions below, and we'll bring you new episodes as often as we can. Make sure you check out Daniele on Facebook and Instagram.